feeling of being overwhelmed and exhausted by everything we have to do while still stressing over the idea that we aren't doing enough? Are there days where any task or activity is draining or emotionally exhausting, but here you are with a constant feeling that regardless of how much you do, your efforts are inadequate? Are there days where you feel empty and your to-do list is ever-growing, but you still experience a lack of motivation? Are there days where the excessive stress leaves you to drown in your responsibilities, feeling nothing except a lack of accomplishment and productivity? You are not the only one to experience burnout. Burnout is on the rise at an alarming rate. A Forbes survey showed that 43% of respondents experienced burnout prior to the pandemic, and this number rose to 52% in 2021. Half of the millennial generation experienced burnout in 2020, and 59% of them are still affected today. Likewise, Gen Z rose from 47% to 58% during the same time period. To add to this, roughly 2/3 of full-time employees experience burnout on the job, whilst 45% of Latin American students and 25% of students in Europe and Asia do. Now the question is, what constitutes burnout and how do you determine whether you're experiencing it? Burnout can easily overlap with other mental health problems, such as depression, anxiety, grief, or even rage. It is characterized by a sense of depersonalization, where you separate yourself from work emotionally, as opposed to investing yourself in it and feeling as if it's meaningful. It also involves a diminished sense of accomplishment, where you put in loads of hours of work, getting little sense of whether you're actually making a difference. And finally, emotional exhaustion. With burnout, you can easily find yourself in situations where you have the inability to concentrate, making work or completing assignments harder than it already is. You can also find yourself neglecting your own needs and prioritizing the needs of others over your own, experiencing psychosomatic symptoms, or even being in denial of all these feelings. Additionally, people also tend to suffer from insomnia, fatigue, and can even notice changes within their eating habits. Moreover, dealing with these symptoms over a prolonged period of time can have a profound effect on you mentally and physically. Not only do the consequences of being chronically stressed affect your personal growth, but it can also negatively affect your social skills, as well as overwhelm your cognitive ability. Ignoring the burnout you may be experiencing can also cause you to develop depression, anxiety, or health conditions, making it crucial to be able to understand burnout and recognize it before feeling too helpless. Burnout is a result from various factors, whether that is from work or school, your lifestyle, or even the personality traits that you may possess. Work-related factors could involve dysfunctional work dynamics or a lack of control, which can lead to feeling undermined and isolated. Other job-related factors could involve the extremes of the activity or work-life imbalances, which requires lots of energy for focus and can therefore take up the majority of your time. Your lifestyle contributes to burnout through taking on too many responsibilities, not getting enough sleep, or not socializing enough. Lastly, your personality can contribute in multiple ways, whether that's through having perfectionist tendencies where nothing's ever good enough, having a pessimistic view of the world, having a high-achieving, or some might say type A personality, or even being reluctant to delegate to others due to the constant need to be in control. However, it is critical to understand that burnout is neither a medical diagnostic nor a mental illness, but instead a condition due to overwhelming stress. Contrary to belief, burnout does not imply that all you have to do is a little self-care, move on, take a vacation, and move on in life. Instead, you should be completing your stress response cycles. Your stress response cycle fundamentally has a beginning where you perceive the threat, a middle where you have a psychological and physical response to it, and an end where your body receives a signal that you are safe from the potential threat. To elaborate, there are 5 main stages. This involves the external stressor, internal appraisal, psychological response, internalization, and coping. The external stressor is essentially your triggering event, whilst the internal appraisal happens during or just after the triggering. It allows a psychological response to take place, causing your sympathetic nervous system to stimulate your cardiovascular system, whilst your parasympathetic nervous system is suppressed, causing your immune and digestive system to shut down. The 4th stage is internalization. This is when your body becomes aware of the stress you may be dealing with and has a physical response to it. This could involve an increased heart rate, body aches, or headaches. Finally, the last stage of the cycle is coping. This is when you try to alleviate the stress and discomfort that you may be dealing with. Whilst many people turn to coping mechanisms such as substance misuse, emotional numbness, procrastination, avoidance, or binge eating, these coping mechanisms can be deemed maladaptive, as they may have short-term benefits, but the long-term consequences can be detrimental. This is why people should turn to coping tactics that will help them in the long run. This could involve physical exercise, such as jogging, running, or cycling, and breathing exercises aid in regulating the central nervous system. Releasing emotion allows the body to release tension, whilst positive social interactions and discussing what you're going through may not only benefit you, but others around you who may be experiencing the same thing. In today's rushing world of chaos and uncertainty, it is often hard to eliminate the stresses in our lives. Coming from a person who suffered from burnout due to academic stress, there are often times where the pressure to get good grades or do well in every aspect of our lives gets the best of us. It turns into an endless tunnel of feeling unmotivated, and you find yourself procrastinating regardless of the amount of stress you may be feeling. This is why it's so much more important to understand the concepts behind burnout and how to prevent it in a healthy manner. On a more positive note, our society can become more coherent as we become aware of the struggles people will go through on a daily basis. In the future, we can find ourselves more productive due to more functional work dynamics, and we can even see an overall improvement in our health. Ultimately, being more aware of a phenomena like burnout will allow us to increase the chances of us becoming more successful and happier human beings, which is not something we should only want for our future, but it's also something that we should want for the future of generations to come.